It's a U.S. men's national team-centric episode of Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast as we discuss Gio Reyna's performance this past weekend for Borussia Dortmund. Plus, who is the future number one keeper for the men's national team, Zack Steffen or Matt Turner? Follow the show on Twitter at Uncle Sam's Soccer Pod. We always enjoy your feedback and comments, so continue to send them in. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's get to today's episode.
Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Welcome to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast. Jake Watroba in Minnesota, Justin Sosa out in New Jersey, and you got myself here in Wisconsin. Boys, how we doing? Saturday evening here, October 3rd. What's up? How we doing? Jake, you're, as we always begin with nothing soccer related, you're Minnesota Twins. Please tell the listeners this fantastic stat that your Minnesota Twins are in.
18 consecutive postseason losses. Not series losses. Not 18 consecutive regular season losses. 18 consecutive postseason losses. They have not won a game, and I don't know the exact date. I want to say it's October 3rd, 2009. No, 2004. My bad.
I thought it was 2003 against the Yankees.
No, it's 2004 because they won. This is how screwed up my fandom is with the Twins. I can recall the two times they've beaten the Yankees in the playoffs in my lifetime. One was Game 1, 2003, and one was Game 1, 2004. They beat the Yankees 2-0 behind a Johan Santana start, and that happened to be the last time they had won a playoff game. So, yeah, across the four major sports leagues, if we're not including MLS in that major sports league category in this country, it is the all-time record. They broke the 1975 through 1979 Chicago Blackhawks record of 16 consecutive postseason losses. And to add to more, another fun stat to this futility, they have now played 15 consecutive postseason games, scoring scoring 4 or less runs in a game. So they haven't scored more than 4 runs in a game. I believe it was Game 4 against the Yankees. They lost 8-6 in 2004. So that was the last time they had scored more than 4 runs in a Major League Baseball postseason game.
Thank God I'm not from Minnesota. Wow.
At least they're consistent.
Look, I mean, I'm 31. And the Twins won a World Series in my lifetime. I was 2. But beyond that, I can recall all 6 postseason wins they've had in my lifetime after the 91 World Series. It's ridiculous.
You know, the funny thing is I can recall quite a bit of the Red Sox postseason victories, and they've had some famous ones.
Yes, they have had some famous ones. It's. I showed you that. I tweeted you that stat, which was like the Minnesota postseason winning percentage. I don't know, since like the last time the Twins won a playoff game. It's like between the Wild, the Twins, the Wolves, and the Vikings, winning percentage of .258. So 26% of the time in the postseason we win.
I don't know. The stat in Boston is, I think we're averaging a championship like every 2 years. A team's in the conference finals at least once every year or once every like 12, 13 months. It's something stupid like that. I mean, at one point, we had a potential to have all 3 out of the 4 major trophies, the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Stanley Cup, but the Bruins blew it. We could have held all 3 of them consecutively. That's night and day. But Justin, how we doing? How you enjoying the Saturday morning of soccer these days? Leeds United is a real fun team to pay attention to.
Yeah, I was texting my group chat of buddies because I was kind of pissed that Jack Harrison wasn't playing for Leeds because he's on loan from City, which I think is a stupid rule. Like, I think if you're that concerned about a loanee kind of killing you in the game that they play against you, Like, why are you sending him out alone to begin with? I don't know. That's just a pet peeve of mine.
It was like Coutinho killing Barcelona.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, well, they were already dead and gone by the time he came on. So, like, it's not that controversial in my opinion.
It's salt into the wound more so.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, like, you got to deal with it. It's just, I don't know. That's a pet peeve of mine. But Saturday morning soccer is good. Weekend in general is going good. My interfraternity soccer team is still undefeated after 5 games, so we're coasting through.
There you go. You know, the funny thing, you mentioned the Coutinho thing. You know what I love best is how he went from Liverpool to Barcelona. And he's like, I'm here to win Champions League.
Trophy. Him and Raheem Sterling was the other one too. Granted, Raheem Sterling did win a Premier League title, but he did the same thing too to Liverpool, which is I'm here to win trophies and all this stuff.
Well, no, the best thing about Coutinho is he wins the Champions League with Bayern Munich, not even Barcelona.
Hey, you take what you can get.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Everton, man, are they flying high at the moment? Just something we've internally talked about. But anyway, listeners, at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod, send in your thoughts, your comments, your concerns. We're going to begin with Gio Reyna, and then we're going to talk about Matt Turner versus Zack Steffen. I think Matt Turner has definitely put his name in a lot of discussion when it comes to the goalkeeping regarding U.S. men's national team, and Greg Berhalter definitely has a decision to make there. But let's begin with Gio Reyna. And I don't even know where to begin. We're just going to begin with initial reactions because he had a hat trick of assists Saturday morning. He's flying high. He's fantastic. Here's a hot take. I think he has a higher ceiling than Christian Pulisic.
I don't think that's that hot of a take, actually. I tend to believe that is a true statement.
I think he's playing better at this age than Pulisic was. I also think Dortmund was in a different position squad wise than they are right now. Like with Favre here, I think like Reyna doesn't really have that much competition for a starting role. There's a few guys here and there, but I felt like when Pulisic was breaking through, I think they still had a few more of their big names that he was kind of competing with for starting spots. But yeah, I mean, I off of his early performances, I tend to agree that I think Reyna is showing that he has a higher ceiling than Pulisic. As to which position, like as a winger or as a 10, that's gonna, iron itself out over the next few years. But yeah, I mean, he's playing well, so that's all you can really ask for.
But that's the thing is like, no one here on the show, obviously, but I don't think anybody out there in the media is saying that Christian Pulisic by any means sucks. We're just saying like the ceiling here is just bigger. It's a little bit higher, and that's great. I mean, I don't think anybody should be complaining. Anybody should be pissed about it. I think this is great news for the U.S. men's national team. Here's this young kid. Do we think the hype around Gio Reyna is equally to Christian Pulisic? Because I think Christian Pulisic, right, isn't kind of the first, and I think Jake is famous for saying you always remember your first.
I think if we're talking about is the hype with Reyna higher than it was with Pulisic, is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think it is, and
really?
I think. I just remember people kind of losing their mind with Pulisic coming onto the scene, and I feel like it kind of felt like that it was like almost the first big breakthrough with that young group of players. And it to me now, let's go down the line here. McKennie's at Juventus. We just had McKennie sign with Juventus. We got Tyler Adams at Leipzig. Dest is now on his way to Barcelona. To me, it's kind of like
Barcelona.
He's at Barcelona. To me, it's kind of like, okay, you're at Dortmund. Now we're doing this. It's like we're doing this regularly now. It's like, okay, what's the big deal? Before, when players left America go to Europe, it's like, oh, geez, okay, this is noteworthy. Okay, now it's like, okay, you're the second guy now to get to Dortmund here in the last like 5 or 6 years. So it's like, what? I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm super excited for him to develop at Dortmund and maybe move on to bigger and brighter things. But to me, it's kind of like, okay, we've been there, we've done that now. I think we're a little less excited about it just because it's not like this new phenomenon with U.S. soccer fans where it's like, we got a guy playing at a giant club in Europe right now, and he's promising.
I think most of what you're saying is true. In terms of like having a guy there in the situation where we've been there, we've done that. I would almost argue that because Pulisic was the first to kind of break through at Dortmund, it brought more American attention and focus on Dortmund. And therefore, when Reyna made his move over there, I don't know, personally, I felt like there was a lot more hype and attention. Like, actually, I think it was more anticipation waiting for him to get that breakthrough, to be where he's at right now. And I guess just like with Pulisic breaking onto the scene, like that brought more fans into the picture and kind of just, I guess, brought a few soccer fans kind of around him and kind of watching Dortmund a little bit more. So personally, I feel like Reyna's breakthrough got a lot more hype and attention than Pulisic's. But I mean, what you're saying is true too. Like Pulisic breaking through at Dortmund was like the first time we've ever seen that kind of happen with an American. And so I guess the initial reaction was a lot more shocked than it was.
It was like, oh, we can do this. So it was kind of like, wow, we finally did it. Now it's. I would. It's like, okay, we've done this already. This isn't. I would
say Pulisic showed that, or Pulisic's breakthrough was more of a surprise, whereas Reyna's was more excitement, because I feel like a lot more people paid attention to U.S. youth development during his like kind of youth years or whatever with the under 17s and stuff. And so when he kind of got through, it was more just like excitement waiting for him to kind of make that breakthrough.
Plus, there's the name recognition too, Reyna. I mean, his dad, Gio Reyna. I mean, that he's arguably he might be the GOAT of U.S. soccer. So I don't know. It's almost like you kind of expect it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a bad thing to place onto a 17-year-old kid's shoulders. Like, well, we expect you to be like your dad. I will say this. I don't know if it's because the Bundesliga is on ESPN Plus, but Dortmund has now become like must-watch TV for me now, where it's kind of like clear my schedule. I'm gonna watch Dortmund a little bit today. Before I didn't really care. Even like with when Pulisic was playing at Dortmund, he was like, I'll watch a little bit here or there, or whatever. But now, like, I'm checking my phone, and I'm not even a Dortmund guy. I'm not even a guy that like follows the Bundesliga that much. And I'm like, oh, I gotta watch Dortmund. Reyna's playing.
You know, the funny thing is now we've had multiple players develop in Europe. The next thing for the growth of U.S. soccer is to get an American to make the transition from MLS to a big club in Europe. Now, a lot of people will point to Alphonso Davies going to Bayern Munich. I'm talking about an American specific. What about Tyler?
Reyna. Wasn't Reyna in NYCFC's academy? Are we talking like actually got senior minutes in MLS?
I'm talking about.
I think we're saying. I would assume this is like. I mean, I don't think this is biased. I think this is an objective.
Tyler Adams. I was gonna say Tyler Adams.
Yeah, but I mean, here's where I pause with Tyler Adams. I'm talking like RB Leipzig is a big club in Germany, but they're the new kids on the block. Like where I'm talking about making the move from New York to say an Arsenal.
So you want a direct move? A
direct move where he is inputted day one into the squad. With Tyler Adams, he's a young kid, and I'm not discrediting the move. It's a great move. RB Leipzig, obviously a really good club in Germany in Champions League football. That doesn't. What I'm saying is, I want people, because I don't think the average neutral sports fan who pays attention to the U.S. men's national team is really going to be RB Leipzig. Who? What? Okay, like, you know, it's not going to really ring a bell. But you say, oh, they went from Columbus Crew to Manchester City, then you got something going on. Then you get the wheels to turn going, oh, maybe I should pay attention to MLS, because this is where the talent is coming from. Like a Paxton Pomykal, right? Whenever he makes the move to Europe, what club is it? Is it a decent-sized club?
Is he going to make the move to Europe now? I don't know. I'm just okay. I know we are going on a complete tangent with when you mentioned Paxton Pomykal, it actually just sparked a thought in my head. Kind of reminds me of Count Acosta. Remember when that was a hot name 3 summers ago?
But I don't think Dallas were as inclined to let Acosta leave as they are now. Like they showed with Cannon, like we'll set you up with a nice contract. You'll get paid in this last year that you're here, and then we'll move you along as quickly as we can.
I guess what I'm saying is it feels like the hype train behind Paxton Pomykal has kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, his injuries don't help it either.
That's what I feel like drove the Count Acosta bit, where it's like, oh, remember when he was like, all right, well, he's not going to go in the summertime. He'll go in the winter transfer window. And then it was, okay, now he's getting traded to the Colorado Rapids. That's all I'm saying. It just kind of feels like we're trending in that direction with Paxton Pomykal. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does find his way to Europe, but I don't know. Sorry. Yeah. I know we're talking about Gio Reyna, but you mentioned that and sparked that thought in my head. So
we're going to talk. We're moving on here, and the question of the day list is at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod: Matt Turner or Zack Steffen? Who is your starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team? And then the second question I have to that, guys, is now that we have star players in Europe, because let's just be honest, these are star players playing at some of the biggest clubs in Europe. My question to you is, when Greg Berhalter assembles his squad, is there going to be a gap or a divide or a conversation among the European-based players? Because we have seen this historically with Jeff Cameron. He had a huge story in the New York Times. You can tell that when players are with the U.S. men's national team and they are MLS-based, they are looked as almost second class as compared to the players who've made the move to Europe and are succeeding in Europe at some of the biggest clubs. But let's begin with the first question there. Justin, Matt Turner or Zack Steffen, who is your starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team?
If I had to go out and win a game tomorrow, it would still be Zack Steffen. And that's not to discredit like how well Matt Turner's been this season or, throughout his career. I don't think it really helps that he plays for the Revs either. I think in like recent years, they haven't really been that star caliber team in the East that they were known for in the early 2000s. But I think people question like whether Steffen can actually like make saves as a goalie. Like I feel like there's a big question now with goalies in general. Like, yeah, you can play out the back with your feet. Yeah, like you can play pretty soccer as a goalkeeper, but can you actually like stop a shot? And I think Steffen has that. I don't think he's missing that in his game. Are there a few like frailties? Of course, but I think that matters for Turner too. And I mean, I don't want to use the club size as like the ultimate comparison, but like you have Zack Steffen at Manchester City, and yeah, he's the second choice keeper, but he's second choice behind Ederson, who's one of the best keepers in the world, and he still gets game time here and there with the cup games, and he doesn't play poorly. It's not like he's just the backup to be the backup.
Let's not forget he's also training against some of the best players in the world too.
Exactly.
Even if he's not seeing the field, he's probably taking shots, from Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, and I mean, goalkeeper's a very weird position to argue like who's better than who based on like where they are. But I feel like it's almost a similar argument to should Jordan Morris be starting at right wing over, some young kid in Europe, like Tim Weah if he's healthy. Should Morris be starting over him? Because obviously he's excelling in MLS, and Weah's, coming back is doing well in Europe. When he's healthy, he does well. But I think it's almost a similar argument because you're trying to compare somebody who's doing really well in MLS to a player in Europe who's arguably still trying to find their feet in their team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question in regards to who do you want if you had to start a game tomorrow. I guess you would – I think you would lean Zack Steffen just due to his experience. But I think going into the future – I think it's Matt Turner, and fine. Here's the New England bias. To me, it doesn't really bother me. When I watch Matt Turner, I don't know. I just feel more confident. I don't know what it is. They're the same age, about the same size, so there's not you can't really compare on that. Statistically speaking, Matt Turner has been one of the best goalkeepers in the last 18 months in MLS. I mean, he single-handedly keeps the Revs in games. I honestly think him and Gustavo Bo are the reasons why are the two main reasons why the Revs made the playoffs last year. I think there's something worthwhile, and on top of that, despite Zack Steffen being at Manchester City and touching the ball or the shots or the balls from Kevin De Bruyne, I don't know. I just value game time decision regardless of what club size you're at. I think as a U.S. men's national team coach, you do need to put the expectation on your players that if you're going to transfer to a big club, if you're not getting game time, you're going to be a little diminished as far as your your call up if a player at a smaller, quote unquote smaller club is playing every 90 minutes. I think there's got to be a value system there on game time, and just because you're playing at Barcelona or Juventus, I need you playing at Barcelona or Juventus. If not, it doesn't mean anything for the U.S. men's national team. It doesn't mean that they don't deserve a call-up, but I do think we need to have a level set as far as it comes to those expectations. But give me Matt Turner. Jake, yeah, you riding the Turner train?
Oh, come on, Steven. Look, Matt Turner should be part of the national team, okay? 100% he should be on the roster every time. If this team qualifies for Qatar, he should be on the roster going to Qatar. I don't even know what other goalkeepers there are behind Zack Steffen and Matt Turner. I don't even know what the other options even are at this point. Are we going to call it Nick Raimondo again? Is that what we're going to call him out of retirement? Is Brad Guzan still part of the plans? Because he shouldn't be. Here's the thing for me. I get it. He's the second keeper. He's probably only going to see time playing in the Carabao Cup, playing in the early rounds of the FA Cup. He's not going to get league play. He's not going to see time in the Champions League unless Ederson gets hurt. My thing with Zack Steffen is he played under Berhalter at Columbus. He understands the system. There's not as much that needs to be learned as there would be with Matt Turner playing keeper for Greg Berhalter. I mean, he likes to play out of the back. He likes to have a keeper that can pass the ball, and Matt Turner has to learn how to do that sort of stuff. And I mean, we're 11 months out from qualifying here, 2 years from a World Cup. You only have so many dates where you get these guys together to practice. To me, it's Zack Steffen, and even if Zack Steffen probably isn't at Manchester City next year. There's no way, right? He's probably going to get loaned out, right?
I mean,
I'm assuming they didn't bring a keeper in because of the potential Champions League ban and all that stuff with finances and that sort of thing. They just said, you know what, we're not gonna replace Bravo with somebody else on the outside. We'll just have Zack Steffen be here for the year. He'll practice with the club, and they'll probably loan him out again to some team in the Bundesliga, or they'll loan him out.
I'd be surprised if it's a loan. Excuse me. I would think they would see this as if he does well in his little cameos this season. Like, I think they would see this as their best opportunity to sell him. Like, I guess a loan. I guess it's a loan you can. There.
Yeah.
I guess like a loan, if you loan him out the next year, you can convince that team if he then has to play well again for another year. So
I mean, who's to say he doesn't get loaned to Everton? And he shows that. I mean, Pickford looks like ass.
Well, just remember,
Jake, that's what I'm saying. Do Everton just go in and cash out on Steffen right away?
That, or you give an option to buy. You say, "We'll loan him to you," and you get the option to buy for £40 million or whatever the price may be.
Mm-hmm.
Or Chelsea. I mean,
yeah, but he was terrible in the Bundesliga. Zack Steffen had one of the worst was one of the worst shot stoppers in the entire Bundesliga.
He also played
for like a side that got relegated.
Yeah, but I don't. To me, I think there's a certain respect if you're the goalkeeper. You got to keep some of those goals out. Stop some of those shots.
That's
what we pay you for.
That's like when people used to dump on Brad Guzan when he played at Aston Villa, and Aston Villa was getting run over. It was like there's only so much you can't just stand on your head for 90 minutes, 38 times a year.
You know who agrees with me on this take?
Who?
Matt Doyle.
Oh God,
we've had him on the show multiple times.
Yeah,
just saying, he does agree with me on this. The thing is with Zack Steffen, right? Being part of a Bundesliga team last year, I'm curious to know how long as you and Justin were just going back and forth, how long does he stay with City, and then where does he go? And then don't we have to see him play like regularly?
He had a clean sheet this past week in the Carabao Cup. I don't know who they played against. I can't remember.
I would think so. Kind of like what Jake was saying, with it being such a tight window with qualifying and stuff, it's going to be really hard to kind of justify booting him out if he plays well as the starting goalkeeper for the US, like with this tight of a window for qualifying. But afterwards, I mean, Steffan's 25, so he still has like plenty of time left in his career.
Turner is 26, by the way. So I mean, it's
exactly.
Like there's not a big gap between them age-wise.
They both got at least another decade left in them if they stay healthy and relatively fit. So I would assume at least building up to Qatar, Berhalter plays it safe with the goalkeeper position and keeps Steffen. Afterward,
but Justin, I can understand that, but my question is, what if Turner's just on fire with the Revs? I mean, don't you kind of have to play the hot goalkeeper? I mean,
but again, I go back to the example with Jordan Morris. Like, what if Jordan Morris is just on fire with the Sounders?
You play him. I play him 10 out of 10 times. I want the hot hand and informed players. I think with the U.S. with national teams, I think you have to.
Wait. Okay, if we're gonna play this game, let's say Jordan Morris is lighting up in MLS, but let's say Timothy Weah not lighting it up, but getting regular playing time in a better league with a bigger team. But who are you going with now?
Okay, fine.
I
said Jake. That's semantics. I say there is more of a coin toss. But if Zack Steffen if Tim Weah is getting regular playing minutes and he's being impactful on the field, but Jordan Morris just so happens to have the stats, then you go back and forth. Then I have to just we'd have to do a kind of wait and see type situation. But Zack Steffen isn't playing regularly with Manchester City, and Turner is standing on his head for the Revs. I'm leaning Turner. He's the hot goalkeeper. Zack Steffen's
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bitter because Luis Robles was one of the best keepers in the league over the last 5 or 6 years, and he never got a shot.
He never got a shot. I agree with you actually on that one. I thought every time I watched Red Bull, I'm like, why is this guy not getting a call up over?
He's also, I think he's my height, and or around my height, and I'm 5'9". So for him to be that consistent as a short goalkeeper,
on Tinder, you're 6 foot.
Yeah, there you go. That's one way to say. All right, quickly, Jake. Yes or no? There could be a locker room problem. European-based players versus MLS-based players. We've already seen it. Do you think this continues forward with this next generation of players? Yes or no?
If you keep this is a bad take, I think, and I think Justin's going to rake me over the coals for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways because I wear a tinfoil hat when it comes to this sort of stuff. If you continue to bring in MLS-based coaches who value MLS talent, yes, I think there could be. I think I think Greg Berhalter might value some guys in MLS more than some guys in Europe. Don't ask me who, I don't know, but I'm just going to say that. I think that could create an issue. I also think, though, with the amount of players going to Europe and now succeeding, it is now putting a lot of pressure on this young core of youth national players to not do what Jordan Morris did and to do what Reggie Cannon has done, or to do what Weston McKennie has done, or Tyler Adams, which is you can play in MLS, or you can go to an MLS academy, but
don't forget Alphonso Davies.
Alphonso Davies, and he's not even American. But I think what you're seeing with Reyna, what you're seeing with McKennie, what you're seeing with Reggie Cannon, what you're seeing with Tyler Adams, guys like that who even came up a little bit, whether it was in just an academy or saw a couple years with the senior club in MLS and then got the hell out. I think moves like that are going to put pressure now on these kids coming up to get the hell out of the U.S. and get over to Europe and try to, perfect their skills over there. Because like Weston McKennie said, I can always go back to MLS if I want to.
I don't think that was a bad take. I don't know why you prefaced that.
Because I don't know. I wear the tinfoil hat where I think the national team is just there to prop up MLS. It's just almost like a propaganda machine. And I feel like they're like Bruce Arena was like, yeah, I'll pick all these MLS players over the guys and some of these guys in Europe. That's what I felt like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I don't agree that there will be a problem in the locker room. I think you see it on social media is one thing, but I genuinely think you see the interaction between these kids that are going through the youth systems together, whether it be whether it be kids who are 12 through 17 at FC Dallas who all know each other just because they're at FC Dallas, or kids that all play within the same age group, like Adams, like Pulisic, like McKennie, for the youth national team. I just think regardless of where they are in their careers, they've all spent enough time together and played together at some point in their lives to where they have enough respect for each other to just know that, like, I can rely on you to perform when I need to, regardless of where you're at. I don't know. I think this group of players, as far as people talk about their general level of play being a lot higher than we've ever seen with the men's, or maybe not ever quite yet, but like for a young group of players for the men's national team in terms of talent, I don't think a lot of people talk about the maturity that a lot of them have either. Like, I don't think there's really many petty or arrogant personalities in the locker room to say like, oh, Paxton's still at FC Dallas, and why are you with the national team?
Not yet, Justin. They're all young.
This might be my hot take, but
yeah,
okay. So this is my personal hot take. I think of all the players that are currently within the setup and kind of progressing their way to potentially being in the setup, Serginho Dest has, I feel like, the biggest ego of all of them, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I just feel like it's something in his game that could be negative if he doesn't learn or mature enough to learn how to kind of manage that. Like, it's great to be self-confident and know that you're good enough to play for a Bayern or a Barcelona. But, like, are you also competent and mature enough to understand that, like, these are your teammates and it's your job to bring them up and not to grade them for where they're at? You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be interesting to see how this national team develops through the years with all this talent. Are we going to look back and think, 1992 Dream Team, or is this going to be the Jake, you're the hoop head on the show. What's the year that the U.S. men's basketball national team failed at the Olympics?
2008. I want to say it was either 8 or 4 in Athens. I can't remember which one. Was either Athens or was Sydney in 2000? No, was 2008 London?
2008 was China.
London was 2012.
Well, it was either China or maybe, I don't know if Athens was 2004 or if that was. Sydney.
I think it was 2008. But point being, the team failed miserably, and it kind of put it's just not going to be well compared. So we'll see. Anyway, listeners, at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod, question of the day: Zack Steffen or Matt Turner? Who is your starting U.S. men's national team goalkeeper? Let us know. Send in your thoughts at Jake Watroba, at Justin Sosa 99, at Steven Jodrand. And until next time.